Alright, so once you've chosen which structure you're going to put into place to help best facilitate your strategy, you then need to decide how much authority is going to be delegated within that particular structure. And there are two different approaches that we can take here. The first is to implement a centralized structure. The second is to have a decentralized structure. And they are very much polar opposites, very much opposing views here. In terms of their basic tenets or ideas and sort of concepts, a centralized organizational structure involves decisions on most matters of importance being handled by the top level managers who are said to have the experience, expertise, and judgment to decide what is the best course of action. Lower level personnel are assumed to have neither the knowledge, the time, nor the inclination to properly manage the tasks they are performing, so they don't even want to do those, and strong control from the top is seen as a more effective means for coordinating the firm's actions. On the other hand, we do have a decentralized approach, and this is where decision-making authority is said to be put in the hands of the people closest to and most familiar with the situation, that is, the lower level employees. Those with decision-making authority should be trained according to this view to exercise good judgment, so unlike the centralized structure approach, the decentralized approach assumes that people can have their skills and knowledge trained basically so that they can make a good decision. And this approach also says that a firm that draws on the combined intellectual capital of all of its employees can outperform a command and control centralized approach. And this is because obviously if you're able to get all the ideas from all of your employees rather than just those from the top level managers, that's a greater number of ideas that you can pull together. In terms of the advantages of each approach, the centralized approach does fix accountability through tight control from the top so that if things do go badly, we are able to basically blame it on one or a small group of people. They have to take responsibility for that. On the other hand, obviously, if things are going well, then they can also take the credit for it, which is why we often see top-level managers and CEOs getting such exorbitant salaries. It also eliminates the potential for conflicting goals and actions on the part of lower-level managers. Obviously, if you had a whole host, if you had dozens of lower-level managers all wanting to have their input and say into the way that things are done, then you'll have a lot of people with different goals, different ideas about how things should best be done. So obviously if you just have one person making that, you'll have a greater consistency of message. It also facilitates quick decision making and strong leadership under any crises. Having one person who can basically take responsibility and deal with that situation rather than having ambiguity with all these people who might have responsibility for it, it also strengthens your position in those crisis situations. On the other hand, there are a number of advantages to the decentralized structures. First of all, it encourages employees to exercise initiative and act responsibly. If the lower level managers are told that we want you guys to have some say into the way that things are done, they'll often come up with new ideas and often have some very good ideas about how things can best be performed. It promotes greater motivation and involvement in the business on the part of more company personnel. Most studies indicate that when lower level managers are empowered and given some say and responsibility, they tend to be more motivated. So that's a good thing as well. Spurs new ideas and creative thinking, as we've touched on, allows fast response to market changes because obviously the lower level employees are going to be the ones who are dealing with the customers and seeing the face-to-face through their own personal experience how the market is changing, whereas the CEOs sitting behind their mahogany desks in their nice offices probably going to be a little more out of touch with how the individual customer feels and what they have to say about what might happen. It also entails fewer layers of management, so reduced bureaucracy and basically more efficient and speedier decisions can be made. There are a number of disadvantages for each though. In terms of the centralized approach, it does lengthen the response time by those closest to the market conditions because they need to seek approval or basically ask permission to do anything in a centralized structure. It doesn't encourage responsibility amongst lower level managers and rank and file employees, so they're less involved, they're less motivated, and also discourages them from exercising any initiative. So you generally see a reduction in innovative ideas in those centralized structures. On the other hand, decentralized structures lead to high-level managers being unaware often of actions taken by the empowered personnel under their supervision. So if you can say to a lower level employee, yes, we have full faith in you, we're giving you all this power and responsibility, that's all well and good, but if they then decide to take all these decisions and actions without you even knowing, because they've got that responsibility, then that can create a disconnect and a bit of a problem if the top level managers don't know what's going on at the lower levels. It can put the organisation at risk if empowered employees happen to make bad decisions. It's all well and good to say, let's get everybody creating ideas, but if they make bad decisions because they don't have the necessary expertise or skills, then that's not going to be a positive either, and can also impair cross-unit collaboration. Alright, so once you've decided how far you would like to go down either the centralisation or decentralisation approach, the final element of structuring the organisation involves facilitating collaboration with your key external partners and strategic allies. Now, when we look at this type of collaboration, unfortunately, we're not talking about Facebook, we're not talking about Tinder, and most definitely are not talking about our friends on the left here, Mr. Bowie and Jagger and Ms. Beyonce and Lady Gaga down there. We are talking about those key strategic alliances, your outsourcing, your joint ventures, and so on. One of the key things to note here is that an increasingly important role within our organisations as part of our strategy implementation is the creation of relationship managers, whose role it is to specifically establish a relationship with these external partners in the initial instance, and then also maintain these cooperative arrangements so that they add value to both parties. Now, this might be in the form of a strategic alliance where you get two separate firms working together, outsourcing arrangement where part of your value chain is actually outsourced or given responsibility to by an external party or an external firm, joint ventures where we get two companies working together to create a new separate entity, as is the case with Subaru and Toyota coming together to create a range of sports cars, just like mine in the top right corner of your screens, as well as collaborative partnerships. So it's really important to emphasise that role of these relationship managers here in the success of each of those four collaborative partnerships there.